for the last 20 seconds.
Yep. Oh, there we go. G'day, legends. G'day, superstars. Jeff Payton. It's been an interesting weekend. Peps and Jdog here for a huge, massive round 4 review for a massive week of footy. Jdog, great to have you on board, mate. Let's be honest. My team's crap. Your team's crap. But football, I wouldn't say it's been overly crap. I think it's quite exciting at the moment. And more importantly, how did you see everything over the weekend? Are you good? Is the family good?
We are all good on the mend here. We've had a bit of sickness going through the house.
Yep.
I have been unwell, but hopefully getting ourselves well before the holidays.
Beautiful. Well, school holidays are in here at the moment, so you know how good is it to be able to jump on the podcast, not have kids running and ranting everywhere. Parents at home are sitting, listening, taking it easy because they don't have to make school lunches tomorrow. They don't have to do anything on those lines. We can just chillax and enjoy everything that is about Lace Out. The number one non-affiliated club podcast this side of the Westgate Bridge, hosted by yours truly, Chris Pepper, and the great Jamie Wallace, because it's how you want your footy. And if you haven't done so recently, please like, subscribe, ring the bell. It would be a massive favour to us. It means that we can get more people on the show. We can have a bigger audience. The numbers are going through the roof. We love it. And it's all because we want to chat footy. Righty-yo, big fella. Time to have a look first and foremost. We're going to have a check out the results and also the ladder. Couple of big things. I've got a massive bone to pick with the club, and I'm going to get straight into it after we get this part done. But they had a bit of a sookie la la last week about having to play a game before everybody else, and they had to travel. Well, I'm just going to debunk the whole travelling myth about, yes, you, Collingwood, because I've got the stats to prove that they do not travel at all. All right, let's get into it. Rightio. Jdog, ladder for round 3 is the wrong ladder. Rightio. So, whilst I fix that up, I've got the round 4 ladder. I'll do that in a moment. Let's have a look at the results for the weekend. All right. Collingwood defeated Carlton on the Friday night. Carlton did a magnificent job, as they always do, by completely stuffing up anything that happens in the back half of a game. It's a tale of two halves, not a tale of two cities. They just do not turn up for any second halves. To the point, even Collingwood said they're going to fall asleep in the back half of the game. And they did. And if I hear one more person say that Nick Dacos was brilliant in that game, can you just get your black and white goggles off? He was not that great. He didn't do anything in the first half. Got held back brilliantly. And yes, he did actually shape it up in the second part of the game, second half. But by then, Pendlebury, I thought, was sensational. Lachie Schultz played a great game. Cameron in the ruck was brilliant, and Sidebottom on the wing. And Josh...
Don't forget, Josh Dacos had a much better game.
I know. But because he's not the flavour of the month, because he's not the beautiful Dacos, he's the one with the golden glow, and has been ripped off for a Brownlow, they tend to get stuck into the other guy. So I think Josh played an even better game than Nick. But just remember, and I'll say this, Nick Dacos has not taken a contested mark in his entire AFL career. How can you be a contested ball winner when you've never taken a contested mark?
I can't remember what the uncontested possessions were for Josh, but I think he has something like 23 or 24 uncontested. So I don't know what his uncontested scores were, but I'm pretty sure there were 1 or 2 uncontested. You
know what we need to have? We need to have contested mark watch. And we just have to watch every week. And I'll remind everybody, until Nick Dacos takes a contested mark, he is not a contested ball beast. Because you've got to cover all the categories, not just all the funny ones. But yep, they were great, Collingwood. They've got a bit of a zhuzh about them. Still not super convinced because it's early days. Let's wait till it starts to get a little bit colder, middle of the season. Older bodies will start to hurt. We've seen a couple go out for this week. Lachie Schultz is out. And another as well. So they're starting to get a bit of... I still don't think they'll make the 8. I think that they'll fall into a bit of an injury cloud towards the back end of the season. Geelong shit on my mob. Melbourne are absolutely poo. I don't know what's going on down there. They are useless, woeful, putrid. You can blame the coach. You can blame the players. You can blame the board. You can blame everybody. It is a collective. They are just putrid at the moment. I don't think... I don't know who they could beat at the moment.
Do you think I may have been responsible for their form this year?
Why is that?
Like you took me to to their best and fairest last year. We took me to the best
I
and
took you to the best and fairest
and
last year. That's correct.
since I've been in the room with all those players and shook hands, they kind of haven't played well.
No, that's a fallacy.
Maybe I am the 2020. I'm the 2025 version of the Lou Richards Kiss of Death.
No, that is a fallacy. That is a fallacy. I think you had nothing to do with that whatsoever. But yeah, they've just been absolutely woeful. And you know what? I've been doing this for 8 years with you, and all I have to say is Geelong did what Geelong did. Geelong did their usuals. They just turned up. They structured their way behind the ball. We actually tagged someone, and that made it worse for us. Like Zach Guthrie had 38 marks behind the ball. Connor O'Sullivan had 84 marks behind the ball. It was just an absolute farce. So they're a joke. Geelong are just ticking along as per nicely. And you know when the old man Dangerfield kicks 3 against you and tears you a new one, you've got issues, and we've got issues. Game of the weekend by far, Gold Coast versus Adelaide. This was topsy-turvy, up and down. Gold Coast are the real deal, everyone. I know you're still saying no, but I'm saying yes. I think that they've arrived. Whether they're going to be top 4, don't think so, but they have all the calibre and everything going right for them to play finals. Adelaide, they'll look back at this one. They'll rue a couple of umpiring decisions, but I've said this literally since day dot. You know a game is played over 120 minutes. It's not played in the last 30 seconds. Yes, there was an umpiring decision here and there that might have turned it the other way, but you got to play it how it's played, and they're relying on something out of their control to win the game when they should have done it previously.
Are you just forgetting what happened in the last minute of that game when Rankin had a mark?
He didn't mark it. He didn't mark it. It wasn't a mark. You got to control the ball the whole way.
Control the ball, brought it down. Only reason the ball came out of his breadbasket was the fact that he got punched out after Rankin had a mark.
He didn't mark it. He didn't mark it. It wasn't a mark. You got to control the ball the whole way.
Control the ball, brought it down. Only reason the ball came out of his breadbasket was the fact that he got punched out after the control. Yeah,
it wasn't a full control. So I don't think it was a mark. It was a very ticky touchwood. The in the back or holding, Kenichi slice and dice game, I think. And Brisbane just ticking along nicely. Sorry.
When's that game, Pep?
And Brisbane just ticking along nicely. Sorry.
When's that game, Peps?
Anzac Eve. So it's about 4 weeks away, 3 weeks away.
Okay, all right. You reckon that's?
I reckon that could be the one. If they get to 7-0 and they're playing Richmond, or 6-0 playing Richmond, and they lose, that's it. It's over. I can't see it. Wow. I can't see it continuing. Circuit breaker has to be pulled. North Melbourne defeated by Sydney. I picked North for this, and they've let me down. What do you think about North at the moment, Jdog? Are they? How do you see them? Do you see them as quality? You don't see them as quality? Is that a game that they should have won, considering how well they played against the D's, the Dogs, over the last number of weeks?
I just find them really hard to pick, Peps, at the moment. I'm really struggling with their form because they can go and put on almost 12 unanswered goals against you boys, and then come out and get flogged by Sydney, who are just travelling okay at the moment.
Yep.
And what are we now into the Clarkson era? 3 years in?
Yeah, 3 years in. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. There are players there that would have stood up this year. Like Larky was super quiet over the weekend. I don't think he had a goal up until half time.
Yep.
My feel is it's probably not
just yet
going. Not just yet. I don't know if we're just in that false like dip before either it clicks in the second half of the year and they just take off. But they've got, they've built a pretty solid list.
Yep.
Now.
Yep. And Wardlow will be there. Wardlow will be back very shortly as well too. So there's some goodness ready to rock with that one as well too. So I'm because they're exceptionally like that game against you guys. That was third quarter. That was what I expected last week. But then it's almost like they did the complete opposite of what they did against us. And Sydney, who haven't been that crash hot, everything just worked for them. Their forward lines, Marty kicked his, McLean kicked his. they were just good. And I didn't see that margin at all. But good luck to them. It gets their season back on track a little bit. And then you have to look back at North and go, GWS, look, everybody I think predicted this one to occur. GWS to smash West Coast. I think I said 15 goals on the preview, and I was pretty close. I got within 1.5 goals. By the way, somebody we have to talk about very, very shortly was this guy, because we have a bags from my mate, good old J Hogan. Woo! Jesse Hogan, he kicked 9 goals. Jeez, the D's could use a forward like him.
Absolutely.
Yep, they were just. Who's worse, West Coast, Melbourne, or Carlton? Who's the worst out of? How would you rank those in those three?
I would still go West Coast as the worst.
Yep.
And I think it might be Melbourne second.
Yep.
And Carlton third.
Yep. I think
your club's the second worst club at the moment in the AFL.
Oh, we are. No doubt about it. We are putrid. And West Coast, they're even worse as well too. We've got Port Adelaide.
Oh my God! They killed Kitty! You bastard!
Once again, and this time to St Kilda. Watch this game, Jdog. It was an absolute belter. They got in front by a mile. You crawled it back, and then what's going to happen? And they just kicked away in the back end. And the Saints, they're playing all right footy at the moment. And Nick Serace, he'll be on board. I'm waiting for Buzz. I'm waiting for Nick Serace. I'm waiting for the Caruso boys. They'll be all on, giving me a bit of shit Kilda. They're not shit Kilda at the moment. They're Saint Kilda with a capital Saint. I just love what they're delivering at the moment. They're hard running. I will say, though, from your perspective, Jason Horne-Francis, BOG by the length of the Flemington Straight, he is a beast when he is on. I just would like to see it a little bit more consistently. Who would you rather take? Now, here's a good one for you. And I might throw this one to the listeners, and I might throw this as a poll as well. Who would you rather have? Nick Dacos or Jason Horne-Francis? At their elite, best of the best, up against a school wall, who would you go into battle with?
Do my answer?
Yeah, I want your answer. What do you think? Who would you go with?
What are we putting Horne-Francis in the Collingwood system?
No, we're just putting the two players raw. They're both there. You've got the number 1 draft pick. You can have Dacos. You can have Horne-Francis. Who do you go for?
I'm probably going to go Horne-Francis.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because I like an inside mid as opposed to an outside mid. I think the outside mid only works well if you've got a midfield that is supportive of that structure.
Yep.
I mean, but at the same time, Dacos's finishing skills are next level.
Yep.
Next level.
But then I will say something else though, Jdog. When Horne-Francis gets on the burst through a pack and then slots it from 50, or just that run, he can take a big mark. He can burst the pack. He just doesn't do it consistently enough throughout a game. When he has a game like he did on the weekend, watch out. He was immense.
Do you know what that question you just asked me remind me of?
What's that?
Can I give you an older one, Peps,
yep.
just to flash our memories?
Yep.
Would you rather
a
peak Chris Judd or a peak Dusty? That's the question you just asked me.
Judd. I'll take a Chris Judd. Peak Chris Judd. There was nothing better.
Yeah, I agree.
Chris Judd.
I agree.
But dude, we're splitting hairs over that one. We are splitting what you think as well too. Last game of the weekend was Fremantle versus Western Bulldogs. Fremantle, it was good for them to get something back, and I can start to see them gaining a little bit of momentum. They have lost Jackson to a hamstring injuries, so they're going to have to bring Darcy in, which sort of throws a little bit of a spanner in that fifth midfielder realm. But they did what they had to do. This was a game I expected them to win, but Sam Darcy is just the best. I love him. I just love everything about him. He's tall, he can mark, he kicks goals, he's got a bit of mongrel in him. He's the best forward going around at the moment, in my humble opinion. Even though Hogan's been immense, he is just the best forward running around.
Even more than Phil Thorpe and Fogarty.
Yeah, they play different ways. You've just got more flexibility with Darcy. You can put them both in the ruck. He plays well. He can play up the ground. He can play. I think he's better around his feet. He's, as they would say, a bit of a unicorn at the moment. That saying, what Fogarty and what Phil Thorpe have done so far this season, that's the best combination going around in the AFL right now. But one out player, look, if you had to put Phil Thorpe, Fogarty and Darcy up against the wall and you had to pick one, who would you go with?
Probably Darcy.
Yeah. So I think as an individual, he is brilliant. And if you could team him up with, I'd love to see him teamed up with Jamara, with Norton down at centre half back. And then you got Wakeman, West at the feet. That'd be awesome. So that was your first week that was the round 4 results. Essendon and Hawthorn also had the bye. And so that means that from a ladders perspective, we have got, if you give me 2 secs, I'll just change the ladder because I had the...
Do you want me to start for you?
No, because it's... Yeah, we can start, but I'm just going to change the ladder image because I picked the wrong one. Oh, here we go.
Done.
Yep, done. Fixed it. All right, so round 4. Hawthorn on top, Brisbane on top. So how good is the Hawthorn? Don't even play, and they're still on top. Brisbane, 119 points. Going on between Gold Coast, now 3rd, GWS 3rd, Adelaide, St Collingwood, and St Kilda, all sitting on 12 points. Now we're starting to get a bit of openness. Geelong on 8, but we've got a really healthy percentage and a lot of games still to go at GMHBA Stadium. Sydney, Western Bulldogs, Fremantle, all on 8. You've then got Port Adelaide North, Essendon, and Richmond, all on 4. And Carlton, Melbourne, and Wet Toast, sitting on 0. Season's over. Start packing for Bali, boys, because you are woeful. That's the way I look at it, Jdog.
Very exciting.
Very exciting. One other thing I want to quickly highlight as well. Rising star for this week, Jdog. You know the best thing about having a rising star? Imagine you were the Brisbane Lions. And the Brisbane Lions had a first-year guy, absolute gun, does his knee, comes in at the back end of the season, virtually a brand new player, wins the Norm Smith in a drought-breaking premiership. How could it get better? Well, if your name's Ashcroft, with a first name of Levi, you've just slotted in absolutely beautifully because he is the round 4 Rising Star nominee for his 22 disposal, 1-game performance against Richmond. So,
that is all down to his check side goal that he kicked, the dribbler from the boundary he kicked in the 3rd quarter, and his beautiful mop of hair.
Wasn't that his brother who kicked it?
I his brother. I see. Once again, they just look too similar to me.
They're just too similar, but they're just...
They're both great.
Yeah, he was a top junior talent, made his debut in Brisbane's first game of the season against Sydney. He was initially named as the substitute before a late withdrawal of Charlie Cameron saw him elevated into the on-field 22 and has not looked back whatsoever. So, congratulations, young man. That's what we want to hear. That's the sort of stuff that we want to see. It is, they're going to be all right, Brisbane. They've still got a bucket load of players to come back in as well, too. So, I'm just excited by everything with them.
Peps. This week is Gather Round.
Yes, it is Gather Round.
It's possibly the best weekend in the AFL, bar 0.
Yep, the love
not even grand final week is as good as Gather Round week, I don't reckon. Think about it, Peps.
It's pretty special. Like when
grand final week is bloody just bullshit. Just bullshit. The game is always bullshit.
You know what I like? You know what I like? I like prelim final week. Prelim final week. If there's 2 prelims in Melbourne, it goes off.
I like this is my favorite week because you get to see some of the country towns hosting
Yes.
AFL games, and
Yes.
I love it.
Well, why don't we just have a look at what was happening for Gather Round this weekend? So we've got 7:10 this week. We've got Crows versus Carlton, and that's going to be at the Adelaide Oval. The Love Machine's driving all the way over. I know a few of the boys from the footy club are heading over as well too. So just drive safely, everybody. Fly safely. Enjoy the weekend. Drink responsibly. Gamble heavily. You've then got Freo and Gold Coast at Norwood Oval. That's a good one, Jamie. A neutral venue. That's pretty special. Richmond versus Sydney Swans at the Adelaide Oval on the Friday night. Then at the Adelaide Hills, you've got Brisbane versus North.
Ground.
Is it a great ground?
The Barossa Park?
Yeah.
Oh,
They've minted
good.
that up. They've minted that up nicely, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. 3:40 p.m. that afternoon, Melbourne versus Essendon. God, I don't want to watch that. 3:40 p.m. That's going to be an absolute killer diller, I'll be honest. Then you've got Port Adelaide versus the Doggies. Oh, good game, Jdog. Good game.
It's going to get messy.
Hold on.
No, wait. Perhaps what are you looking at?
This is the wrong one.
You've butchered that all over the shop.
I have butchered this all over the shop. Because it's round 5, Festival of Footy, and I'm thinking, hold on, we're playing at 7:40 p.m.
No. Start again.
Bloody
Start
hell.
again, my friend. The first two games of the round are at Adelaide Oval because they're Thursday
and
and
everybody's
Friday
now
nights.
getting stuck into me because I've picked the wrong teams. Well, I'm sorry about that.
Saturday
Can we put a
is
year
Barossa
on-
Park, and you got North and Suns.
Oh, they did put a year on it. Shit. Yep.
Yeah, and then Carlton and Eagles are playing at Adelaide Oval on the Saturday afternoon. Then you've got the Doggies and the Lions playing at Norwood Park at 4:15 Eastern Standard Time. And then at 7:35, your team versus Essendon at Adelaide Oval. So there are two games at Adelaide Oval on the Saturday. And then we head back out to the country again on Sunday. We've got Richmond versus Dockers at Barossa Park. And Barossa Park is looking sensational.
How did I get this so wrong?
I don't know. And then you got Norwood Oval. Well, Norwood, boo. But they're there playing St Kilda versus Giants on the afternoon. And then we've got the game to close it out back at Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide versus the Hawks. Ginnivan versus Hinkley. It's all happening. And this is the best round of AFL in 2025.
I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it big time. Yeah, big games. Crows and Cats, that'll be a belter. Pies, Swans, belter. North Gold Coast will be okay. Carlton, West Coast, somebody's going to win a game. Doggies,
That'll be done. That'll be the one.
that'll be the one.
it all gets sorted out.
Doggies, Lions, I reckon will be pretty good too. Melbourne, Essendon. I reckon Sydney Giants. I'm liking the look of that. And then what about to finish it off? Port Adelaide versus Hawthorn. What an absolute farce that is.
What are you talking about?
Well, because Kenny got fined 20 grand for his antics last year and how much of a disgrace it was. And then they've gone ahead and fixtured that game as the final game. So, hey, you know what, AFL? You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't go ahead and say that you can't go do that, naughty boy. But then in the next breath, go ahead and schedule that as the final game. That's just double standards, mate. But it's the AFL. What do you expect?
It could be. This is it's Kenny watching his own coaching funeral at the moment. Peps, this weekend is going to be hot as well. So Saturday is going to be 32. Sunday is going to be 32.
Ooh.
And Friday and Thursday, not a whole lot cooler, 30 and 27.
Oh, that is.
So it's going to be a stinker out there. So I hope your brothers pack the sunscreen and the broad brim hats and practices safe sun practices. But it's going to be hot. It's going to be hot. It's going to throw a lot of clubs back into full sweats.
It is going to be an absolute belter, scorcher, you name it. That is what it's going to be like, and I cannot wait for it. It is going to be an absolute belter. Absolute belter of a weekend. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So all the clubs are travelling over, aren't they? So this is basically the only weekend where it's fair for everybody, except for Port Adelaide and Adelaide, where everybody gets to travel, correct?
Correct. Yep. And St Kilda played us on the weekend, and so they're over there for the extra week.
Okay. So I want to address something that was brought up last week. So if you've been living under a rock, there's this thing called opening round, which is games are played in the northern states to try and get more emphasis on those particular markets, which I all agree with. I have no issue with that. No drama whatsoever. And we've been going 2 years of it, and Collingwood Football Club have travelled and done the opening round 2 years in a row, which is okay by me. They're a big club. They're all good. Good to see. But then Craig McRae comes out last week and says, we need to share it around. We've travelled twice for opening round. We need to share it around because, why should Collingwood have to do that when, there's all these other clubs? They should, have their fair share of the pie. And deep down, I went, he's kidding himself, isn't he? And I think a lot of people around town, when they heard that, would have said, seriously? Except Collingwood supporters going, yeah, that's right. We should share it. Why should we be the ones that, have to go and travel over in opening round and go and support those clubs up there? And I was like, well, it's understandable. But then a little bit of inside me went, well, I'd love to know actually how much they've travelled, because their home ground is the MCG. And we know they play a lot of games at the MCG. So I decided to do a bit of research. And what I've gone ahead and done is I've gone ahead and tabulated some information where I've gone back into the archives and I've found all the away teams where they were the away team and how many games they've played at that particular venue for the last 15 seasons. So from round 1, 2010 to round 4, 2025, tabulated them all across. Now, I didn't want to put all 18 teams up there because Gold Coast and GWS, they haven't played that full breadth, so I took them out. But I wanted to try and get a bit of an even spread. So I've actually narrowed it down to 7 teams. And I'm just going to display this up on the screen for you. So I've gone Essendon, Fremantle, North Melbourne, Port Adelaide, Richmond, Sydney, and the Western Bulldogs. And then you've got Collingwood as the main sort of draw at the start. So if you have a look at this, Collingwood have played 175 games as the away team in total from round 1, 2010 to round 4, 2025. And virtually across the board, that ranges with the other teams from anything from 170 to 179 all the way up to the Sydney Swans, which is sort of understandable because they are a travelling team. There's not many other, grounds that they would play at, even though they would have their main ones, if that makes sense. But this is where everything gets a little bit interesting, Jdog. So I've also gone ahead and thought, well, people are going to say, yes, but they're a big club, Peps. They're a big club. And so they have to play at the MCG. I went, well, that's not a bad point. How about I go get a couple of other big clubs? So I went and got Essendon, and I also got Richmond. One team had just recently won 3 flags, and the other club, Tony Mockbell has been locked away for 18 years, and he hasn't even seen a Essendon final victory in that amount of time. But they're still a big club. Well, out of the 175 away games that Collingwood have played, they played 75 of those at the MCG. Now, Essendon, who is a Marvel Stadium tenant, they've played 53 at the MCG. So you think, okay, that's not too bad. But what about Richmond? Richmond to be on par with Collingwood? No, they've only played 51. So they're 24 games less at the MCG, but there's only a 3-game difference in the number of away games that they've played. and Richmond are an original co-tenant who would arguably have the same amount of followers and supporters as Collingwood would. Would we tend to agree on that with their supporter base? All right. Have a look at this. How many times have Collingwood travelled out of their 175 games to the Docklands? Well, Fremantle, out of their 170 games, in a completely different state, 3 to 4 hours away, depending if you're downhill or uphill, have played at the Docklands Stadium 45 times. The only team that's played more out of this group here is North Melbourne on 52 times at the Docklands Stadium. Collingwood have played a whopping 18 times in 15 years at Marvel Stadium.
So one a year, maybe two.
If that. Fremantle, on average, go to Marvel Stadium 3 times a year. And they've got to fly 4 hours to get there. Collingwood have to drive 5 minutes. But as Big Kev would say, but wait, there's more. You want to hear some crackers? Have a look at this one. Cardinia Park. Western Bulldogs have been there 11 times in this time frame. Sydney 10 times. North Melbourne 10 times. Fremantle, other side of the country, 9. Port Adelaide, an hour and a bit away, 8 times. Collingwood, in this entire time frame, have not gone to Cardinia Park once. Scott Pendlebury, in his 597-game career, has not played at Cardinia Park.
In all that time.
In all that time. Can I go another one for you?
Love it.
Collingwood haven't even been to York Park. They haven't been to Tasmania either in that entire time.
Not once in the
not
15
once.
years.
No. Nope.
Not one game against Hawthorn or anything?
Nope. Not against Hawthorn, not against North Melbourne. They have not gone to Tassie once.
What about like Port Adelaide or someone like that?
Port Adelaide have been to, they've been to the Bellerive Oval 4 times. They've been to York Park 3 times. It's a disgrace, Jamie. This is a disgrace. So, when we say that Collingwood had the rub of the green, the stats here do not lie. If you are a smaller club, you're going to go and be sent somewhere. If you're Collingwood, you're basically going to play at the MCG, and we have to send you to some of these other grounds as well. Richmond have played at the Adelaide Oval. Richmond have played at the Adelaide Oval 22 times. Collingwood 11. How do you explain this, Jamie? The anomalies in the way this is all set up does not make any sense. Mind you, they're pretty even when it comes to Perth Stadium, the SCG, and the Gabba.
Well.
And the Adelaide Oval. All right? So basically what we're saying is this. They only play at the bigger grounds, and that's it. So it's not a draw. This literally shows that the fix is in fixture. Because they don't travel. And the AFL are all worried about the dollars. We know that. Not about the fairness in the competition itself. And the numbers here do not lie at all.
Peps, over that period, can you just also remind me of those clubs on that sheet there?
Yep.
I'm pretty confident that Richmond was the AFL leaders in members, weren't they?
I think that they were.
Through a period of about 3 or 4 years there?
Yep. Didn't matter. They still went to...
You can't use the argument of like having the most members, we need to cater for the most members?
No, they went to Manuka Oval, Collingwood haven't. They went to Bellerive Oval, Collingwood haven't. They went to York Park, Collingwood haven't. They went to Football Park, virtually twice as much. They went to Cardinia Park 4 times. They haven't. Like the numbers just don't lie. Like 1, 1, 1, 2. Like no wonder why clubs, when you hear Collingwood come out and say, it's time for us to share it around. Well, you can't have, like I said before, you can't have your cake and eat it too. We have to share it around here, but when it comes to these smaller venues, we can't share those around.
Yeah.
It's a farce. It is, and it's an absolute farce. But because the AFL is all about this and they don't care about the equality of things, it's never going to happen. So I had to bring this to the forefront to show people that, yes, what you think is actually true. I've got the full list as well for the whole 18 teams as well. Some of them are absolutely classics. Like Melbourne have played there, I think, 14 times out of the last 15 years down at Kardinia Park. So how does one team play there virtually every season and one team doesn't play there at all?
Do you think, though, that there is a bias against Collingwood when it comes to this sort of stuff? So, and I'll speak openly here. What was your gut feel when Houston made the hit on, what was it, Thursday night?
I said 2 weeks. I did say 2 weeks. Because, I said 2 weeks. Because if he got concussed, it would have been 3 or more. Mm-hmm. All right. It was too low for a 1 weeker, so it had to be 2. Because he left the ground, he hit him. Mind you, that's because of the way it's plugged in. It should have been more.
Off the ground.
Off the ground, tucked his elbow in. And for anybody to say that he didn't mean that, if that was Toby Green, it would have gone to the tribunal.
Well, I think that's what people are sort of getting at. They're saying, if we look at the push last week, the Archie thing, lots of examples of it. People are saying it should be 5+, considering
but
he did
there
the
was no
exact
concussion
same thing to Rankin last year in the in round, where it was round 20 something. But there's a perception that people said, well, because he plays for Collingwood now, he'll get 0 for this because Michael Christensen's part of the AFL system. He'll get him off. He'll work him off, and blah 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 blah. And I just want to address that, Peps, because I think that there is a bit of an unconscious bias towards Collingwood. Yeah, because I see what you're saying, and I see the numbers you're putting up. But they have been the biggest club now for probably 2 decades. Okay. And so they might deserve a little bit of those numbers because they are playing a Melbourne teams at the venue. And those clubs are probably more than happy to play Collingwood on the MCG.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But Jdog, how is it that if you look at all games by venue, right? And I'm talking about from 2000. How does a team have 120? Now, if I go back to round 1 2000, that's as far as I can go back. How can a team have 128 away games at the MCG of their 294 when Melbourne, who is a co-tenant, have only 84? How can a team have gone down to Kardinia Park 0 times, yet Melbourne have gone down 19 times?
I think what you're saying is far more compelling of that thing that you're saying that both 2 Melbourne co-tenanted teams at the MCG, one's playing 128 times over the 15-year period, and the other, Melbourne, has played half that amount again. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they've played like 2/3 of that. And Richmond have played 85. That is a compelling number to me. That's just... Yep. Now, we'll take the honesty factor. Teams love playing Collingwood at the MCG. Why? Because it's big bucks for the club. I understand that wholeheartedly. But I do think that the AFL need to send them at least once a year to a smaller venue.
They have to send them down to well, Cardinia Park holds 40,000 odd now. It's not a small stadium.
No, not anymore. It's not.
Okay. You can get a ticket there. Go and play there.
The problem is, and Peps, you've probably experienced this, and I've experienced it even being a Port Adelaide person living in this town.
Yep.
Is tickets are really hard to get actually to Cardinia, and also very expensive.
Oh,
So
they're
people
$60.
might not go.
$60 for a general admission ticket to go to GMHBA Stadium. Fuck.
Correct. So some people probably don't want to go.
No, I get that. But these numbers, like I said, they just don't lie, Jdog. They just don't lie. And I don't know what more I can say about them. You can see them here. I might put a link in the chat to the full document as well too, so you can have a look for you to download. But yeah, it's just fascinating when you look at this to really show how one club has just got it so much better than others. And
I always find it really fascinating for when you look at the sports landscape, right? And it's all, and you've got NFL, NBA, like all the other sports. NRL, I think maybe a little bit, not so. I'm not too much into the NRL crowd, but anyway. Fixture seems to be the thing that always is the thing that our supporters always talk about. It is unfair.
Yep.
Yet I don't really ever hear that with your NFLs and NBAs and MLBs and stuff like that.
No.
Like I always find it really fascinating that the Australian supporter of AFL, it seems to be the biggest contention where people just go, it is an unfair system.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to, Jamie, like with the NRL. I don't know how they do this, so I can't speak about that. But the NFL, you don't play every team. You're in a conference sort of setup as well. So do we need to start we're going to have a 19th team come in. I think the only way that you can do it is what I proposed a number of weeks ago, where you play every club once, and then at the start of...
You had me there, but then you lost me after that.
Yeah. After once?
It was complicated.
No, basically what you do is, it's I'll just quickly repeat what it was, everybody. What you do is, at the start of, let's say the first year, you then, you basically, at random, have three segments, I don't know, three pillars, three groupings. And what you would do is you would put each team into a grouping. All right? And how it works is that you would play all 18 teams and 6 from the other group. There's your 24 games. And then the next year, you play every team once, and then the next group of 6, and then the year after, you play that group and the next group of 6. So basically, you play every team 4 times over 3 seasons. It's the only fair way of doing it.
And the problem is the fact that you get these teams that just have these amazing bounces.
Yep.
Go from like 14th on the ladder. They just shoot up to the top 4.
So
because of the way that it's drawn at the moment. Because they start playing all these clubs that is just completely off.
Exactly right.
Just bounce down. Yeah.
So you just, and then it just takes the randomness out of it. Whoever's good at that time, great. Whoever's bad at that time, great. Can't do anything about it. That's it. Too bad, too sad. I know. Something there for all of us.
Oh. All right.
Jdog, we're virtually
Yes.
at the end of our show. I can't believe a bit of an earlier one this week because we've got Gather Round and it's coming up, and I like I said, I can't wait for this as well too. There's going to be some belting stuff to come out of it. We spoke about Andrew Cracker last week, so that's again his passing, which was a very, very tragic piece of news to hear that just one of the football community unfortunately passes away, just has a heart attack. And so just for everyone out there, get yourself checked. Guys, get yourself checked. Takes you, half an hour to go to the doctors. Maybe find something that you didn't know was there. But just do it for yourself, do it for your family. Ladies, do yourself as well too. Check yourselves out.
A quick update.
Yeah, mate.
Zach Butters has got closer to hitting the magical $50,000 fine bracket at the moment.
He got another fine, did he?
So he's getting close. Yep. Offered a $1,000 fine over the weekend.
For what?
For instigating a melee against St Kilda.
Get fucked.
And then was offered a further
Fucking melee.
$3,125 sanction for a third offence of engaging in a melee.
A melee.
aftermath.
What is this?
He's pretty good.
Oh,
He's pretty good. Come on.
I love a bit of Zach Butters. Butter my toast, big fella. But they're just wasting our time with these fines now. Wasting our time.
20 sanctions. It's great.
It's just, well, when you're on about...
So they call it the Butters Bill.
Yep.
He's had 120 appearances. He's copped 20 sanctions. He's copped 2 suspensions. And his total fine at the moment is at $49,000. Toby is the absolute clubhouse leader. He's had over 243 appearances, 28 sanctions, and had 15 matches. But his fines are only at $44,000. So
I think you got to put them both together. Oh, and what about the Toby? What about the Toby tax when they tried to make something out of nothing with him running into somebody and tunnelling him?
Oh, yeah.
But if you're Bailey Fritsch, have a good hard look at yourself, mate, because that is absolutely shit football. What you did to Stewart. Oh, that's
you're just hating on Fritsch at the moment. Stop being a hater of Fritsch.
I will, because that premiership, which was 4 years ago, water's passed under the bridge now, and you're still living like it's 2021, 2022.
If Peps was a list manager, Fritsch is absolutely on the table this year.
He wouldn't be playing ones. No, I don't care who you are. You got to make a statement. Yep, exactly. And I'm going to make another statement by saying this is the number one non-affiliated club podcast in Victoria, Australia, the world. But more importantly, Peps and Jdog, I'll be back with my tips. I got another 7 last week, Jamie. I've picked 15 out of 16 winners in the last couple of weeks.
Are you beating any AFL legends at the moment?
No. Big Trev. He's winning it at the moment.
Big Trev is the clubhouse leader.
Yeah,
at the
Big
moment.
Trev's the Big Trev's the clubhouse leader tomorrow. So yep. And also great news, people. I'll be starting my new job next Monday. Woohoo! Yeah, it's been taking a while for me to get there, but next Monday I will be there. So
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Dala bing bing. So it's going to be good. Get back into it so I can start buying some more things that my wife doesn't find out about. But outside that, have a great week, Jamie. Gather round. We'll talk about everything which is gather round related next week. It's going to be an absolute corker of an episode. More importantly, thank you. I'm Chris Pepper. That's the great Jamie Wallace. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. You know you want to. And big fella, before we wrap this one up, how do you want your footy?
Lace out.
I love it, lace out. Have a great week.
See you later, listeners.